Today, we're going to be talking all about accommodations, modifications, what they are, what the difference is, and how they are in the IEP. So if this is information you are interested in, then let's get into this video. My name is Kathleen, by the way, and I'm a dyslexic here to help other dyslexics. I help busy, overwhelmed parents understand their child's frustration with dyslexia so they can support, encourage, and empower their child. So another big part of the IEP is listing out the accommodations and sometimes the modifications if they are needed. So today we are going to be breaking down what accommodations are, what modifications are, and what the difference is. So let's get into this video. But this is a continuation of an IEP series that I am doing. And so I have listed the present levels of performance, which I'm going to list right here. I've listed how to qualify for an IEP, and I've also listed goals. So those are the 3 previous videos if you want to check out the series on IEPs. But let's go ahead and get into this video. So what are accommodations? Accommodations are changes that remove barriers and provide the student with equal access to learning. They allow students to complete the same task as their peers with some variation in presentation, time, format, or settings. So let's break that definition down. So we are talking about the child has access to the exact same thing that their peers are doing, but they're going to do it in a different way. But it's the exact same curriculum. It's the exact same. So one of the best examples I give for a dyslexic would be that the students are all reading the exact same book. So most of the students in the class are going to sit down and physically read the book. But with a dyslexic student, they would have an accommodation to where it would be text to speech, or they would have it read. So you might see the dyslexic student in the corner with a computer and headphones and listening to the book instead of reading it. So they're still reading the exact same book. They're still accessing the exact same curriculum, but they're doing it in a different way. They could also have it change to where during this time they go to a small group setting where maybe like a teacher is going to read it to them, or they have a smaller group. So that could be the setting change and things like that. So accommodations are much easier for a student to access their curriculum. So it makes it to where they can easily access their curriculum for themselves, but it's not changing the curriculum whatsoever, just how they access it. And sometimes it could be a presentation change, and that would look a little bit different. Maybe that during the presentation, the student is allowed to walk around in the back of the class so they can kind of get that physical movement while the teacher's talking. So they're still hearing the audio, they're still seeing the presentation, but then they've added the kinesthetic part of their moving in the back of the classroom. So that could be a presentation change. And so it's just little tweaks to make it easier for the student to access the curriculum. Now let's talk about modifications. Modifications is a change in the course expectation or standards. This provides access to the student with a disability to participate in the course or test in a way that is altered to meet their ability or instruction level. So let's break down what this means. So this means that the student is still in the course, but they are not able to do the exact same thing as their peers. So they are going to have an alternative assignment. They're going to be doing something alternative. So one of the biggest examples is the class is reading a book, let's say a book about science. And this is not exactly the same, and the student can't understand it. So the modification would be that the student would have a different book on their level about the same topic, science, but it is not the exact same book. So this is a modification because we are changing the book, we're changing the curriculum. So modifications are one of those things, if you can avoid it, you try to. But if you can't avoid it, then modifications are needed. And so modifications can also happen in where they're receiving their instruction, so more of a one-on-one or small group setting, so they can leave to go receive it. So a modification that most dyslexics receive would be the reading instruction. So instead of staying in the class with their peers and learning that, they leave and they go get like Wilson or Barton or take flight, whatever Orton Gillingham program the school provides, they would be receiving that instruction. So that would be considered a modification because we are modifying to meet their needs in the way that they need to learn. Another modification is testing. So some students will have an alternative test. Instead of taking the state standardized test that most students take, they will take a different test that meets them at their level. So these are just a few of the modifications. I hope that helped clear things up. And so let's break down the difference. So basically, an accommodation is accessing the exact same curriculum, just altering how they're going to access that curriculum. The modification is changing their curriculum to meet the student at their level and where they're at. So those are the main differences between those. And this information is super important to have in an IEP. You need to list out the accommodations, and I have made a video previously about the accommodations that I recommend for a dyslexic student and that I always used. So I'm going to link that video for you here. So if you want specific accommodations to put in your next IEP, I recommend that video. And then the modifications will definitely also have to be listed out. So alternative testing location, and if they are accessing things differently. So if they are leaving to go to Orton Gillingham instruction, then that needs to be listed. Everything that is changed and altered for a student that does not follow their typical peers needs to be documented in the IEP so everybody understands and everybody knows what's going on. So all of the accommodations that the child is allowed to receive need to be documented and written down in the IEP. So the parents know the accommodations, the teacher knows the accommodations. Every single person that has access to that IEP understands the accommodations that the student is receiving. That is the same for modifications. You need to list out the modifications to make sure that every single person on the IEP team has access to that information. That is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be back next week with more information on the IEP. I can't wait to see you then, but I also wanted to let you know that I have a dyslexia guide out. It is free right now, so go ahead and grab it. It has 7 facts, 7 myths, and 9 advantages of an IEP. So if you're trying to figure out what dyslexia is, this is a great guide. Go ahead and grab it. I'm going to link it in the description below, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye, guys.